The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep rumble that echoed through the vast space. Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim walked into the room with steady steps, his black diplomatic uniform sharp and clean. Behind him, 3 other humans followed in perfect formation. Their faces showed no emotion as they moved toward the center of the circular chamber. Around them, representatives from dozens of alien species sat in their assigned seats. The Velthari delegation looked down from their elevated platform with their usual air of superiority. Their leader, Chancellor Crixton, barely glanced at the humans as they approached. His blue skin seemed to glow under the chamber lights, and his 4 arms moved in slow, dismissive gestures. The Zephyrian section buzzed with quiet conversation. Trade Minister Velmoth's insect-like eyes tracked the human movement with calculated interest. His species had made billions from human labor over the past 30 years, always paying less than what other species received for the same work. In the Andromedan seats, tall, crystalline beings whispered to each other through harmonic vibrations that sounded like wind chimes. They had grown used to human scientists solving their problems for them, always expecting quick answers to complex issues. Hyun-Woo stopped at the speaking platform in the center of the chamber. He placed a small device on the podium and looked around the room. The quiet conversation slowly died as alien eyes focused on him. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Hyun-Woo began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I stand before you today to deliver humanity's final message to this assembly." Chancellor Crixton's head tilted slightly. The word final seemed to catch his attention, though his expression remained bored. "For 43 years, humanity has been a member of this council," Hyun-Woo continued. "We have contributed our labor, our minds, and our resources to the galactic community. We have built your stations, solved your technical problems, and defended your trade routes. We have done all of this while being treated as junior partners in our own achievements." A few alien representatives shifted in their seats. Some looked confused, others annoyed at what they saw as typical human complaining. "We have been patient," Hyun-Woo said, his voice growing stronger. "When the Velthari took credit for the jump gate improvements that human engineers designed, we stayed quiet. When Zephyrian companies paid human workers half the standard rate while claiming it was appropriate for their skill level, we accepted it. When Andromedan research facilities used human discoveries without acknowledgement, we said nothing. Trade. Minister Velmoth made a clicking sound that served as laughter among his species. "Human sensitivity," he said to his aide, loud enough for others to hear. "Always making problems from nothing." Hyun-Woo's eyes moved to the Zephyrian section, but his expression did not change. "When we asked for equal representation in the Technology Development Committee, we were told humans needed more experience. When we requested fair pricing in resource agreements, we were informed that junior species must prove their worth first. When we sought partnership in exploration missions, we were given support roles and told to be grateful for the opportunity." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the Andromedan harmonic whispers had stopped. "Today, that ends," Hyun-Woo announced. "By unanimous vote of the Human Colonial Assembly, all human participation in Galactic Council activities ceases immediately. We are withdrawing from every treaty, every trade agreement, and every cooperative project. Humanity will have no further diplomatic contact with any member species of this council." Chancellor Crixton sat up straighter in his seat. "Ambassador Kim," he said with the tone one might use to address a misbehaving child, "surely you understand. That isolation will only harm humanity. Your species benefits greatly from galactic membership. Your colonies depend on our trade networks. Your technology advances through our shared research. This emotional reaction will only hurt your own people." "Our decision is not emotional," Hyun-Woo replied calmly. "It is strategic. For too long, we have allowed others to define our value and our place in the galaxy. We have accepted being seen as useful servants rather than equal partners. That acceptance ends today." He picked up the device from the podium and activated it. A small holographic display showed star maps with dozens of highlighted systems. These are the locations of human colonies, research stations, and industrial facilities. Within 48 standard hours, all human personnel will be evacuated from these positions. All human-operated equipment will be shut down. All ongoing projects involving human expertise will be suspended. The Andromedan representative stood with a sound like breaking glass. "Ambassador, the medical research on Kepler Station cannot be suspended. Dr. Minho Park is the only being in the galaxy who understands the crystalline plague. Without his work, millions of our people will die." "That is no longer humanity's concern," Hyan Wu said simply. Trade Minister Velmoth's compound eyes widened. "The isotope shipments from the Outer Rim cannot stop. Captain Suman Choi's fleet is the only one certified to transport those materials safely. Without them, half our infrastructure will fail." "Find another solution," Hyan Wu replied. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives from dozens of species began talking at once, their translators creating a cacophony of overlapping protests and demands. Chancellor Crixton slammed his gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. When the noise finally died down, Hyunwoo continued as if nothing had happened. "Some of you may think this is a negotiating tactic. It is not. Some may believe humans will return when we realize our mistake. We will not. This decision is final and absolute." He held up a small quantum communicator. "I am now sending the withdrawal code to every human facility in the galaxy. In 6 hours, you will lose contact with all human operations. In 12 hours, human ships will begin departing your space. In 24 hours, the withdrawal will be complete." "This is madness!" Chancellor Crixton stood, his forearms waving dramatically. "You cannot survive without the galactic community. Your primitive infrastructure depends entirely on our support." Hyunwoo smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a pleasant expression. "Chancellor, your comment perfectly demonstrates why this action is necessary. You still see us as primitive dependents who exist only through your generosity. You are about to learn exactly how wrong that assumption is." He pressed a button on the communicator. A brief pulse of energy filled the room, and then the device crumbled to dust in his hand. "The withdrawal code has been sent," Hyunwoo announced. "Humanity chooses isolation over insult. We will remember those who stood with us and those who did not." The 4 humans turned and walked toward the chamber doors. Behind them, alien voices rose in panic and anger. Chancellor Crixton was shouting orders to his staff. Trade Minister Velmoth was frantically trying to contact his corporate partners. The Andromedan's harmonic cries sounded like a funeral song. As the doors closed behind them, Hyunwoo heard Chancellor Crixton address the chamber. "Let them go. They will be back within a cycle, begging for readmission. Humans cannot survive without us." Walking down the station corridor, Hyunwoo spoke quietly to his aide. "Signal the fleet. Operation Independence begins now." Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their emergency session, completely unaware that their galaxy was about to change forever. 6 months had passed since the humans disappeared from galactic society. At first, most alien species barely noticed the change. Trade continued, ships moved between systems, and life went on as normal. The Galactic Council members had convinced themselves that humanity's withdrawal was temporary at best, meaningless at worst. Chancellor Crixton sat in his private office on Station Nexus Prime, reviewing reports from across Velthari space. Everything seemed normal until his aide brought him an urgent communication from their homeworld. "Sir, we have a problem," the aide said, his blue skin pale with worry. "The crystalline plague has returned to the Andromedan systems. Without Dr. Minho Park, they cannot treat it. They are requesting immediate assistance. Crixtan waved a dismissive hand. Let them figure it out themselves. They have their own scientists. Sir, the plague is spreading. 3 Andromedan colonies have already lost 40% of their population. If it reaches the trade stations in that sector, it could affect our shipping routes. For the first time, Crixtan looked up from his reports. The Andromedans controlled several key trade passages that the Velthari used for their most profitable cargo runs. If those routes closed, it would cost billions in lost revenue. What exactly did this human doctor do? Crixtan asked. His aide consulted his datapad. Dr. Park developed a treatment that could stop the plague's crystalline growth in living tissue. He was the only being who understood both human biochemistry and Andromedan physiology well enough to create a cure that worked for both species. The Andromedans say their own doctors cannot replicate his work. Crixtan felt the first stirring of concern. Send a research team to help them. How hard can it be to copy one human's work? Meanwhile, in Zephyrian space, Trade Minister Velmoth was dealing with his own crisis. His assistant's compound eyes reflected the glow of multiple warning displays as she delivered her report. Minister, the isotope shipments from the Outer Rim have completely stopped. Captain Sumin Choi's merchant fleet was handling all transport of Class 7 materials. Without those isotopes, our quantum processors are beginning to fail. Velmoth's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Find other ships to carry the materials. There must be dozens of cargo fleets that can do this work. We tried, sir. The isotopes require special containment that only Captain Choi's ships had. She designed the containment systems herself. Other cargo vessels cannot safely transport Class 7 materials over long distances. Then build new containment systems, Velmoth snapped. Sir, we do not have the technical specifications. Captain Choi never shared the complete designs. Our engineers are trying to reverse engineer the technology, but they estimate it will take at least 2 years to develop a working system. Velmoth stared at the displays showing failing infrastructure across 3 star systems. Power grids were shutting down one by one as quantum processors ran out of fuel. 2 years? We need those isotopes now. There is another problem, sir. The communication networks are also failing. Engineer Tae-Hyun Lim had developed critical algorithms for our quantum message systems. Without regular updates to those algorithms, the network cannot maintain stable connections between systems. The minister's office fell silent except for the soft buzzing of failing electronics. Velmoth realized that his species had become completely dependent on human expertise without ever acknowledging it. In the Andromedan crystal cities, the situation was growing desperate. Their harmonic council met in emergency session as the plague spread faster than anyone had expected. The crystalline beings' natural healing abilities meant nothing against a disease that turned their own crystal structure against them. Council Speaker Janara's voice chimed like broken bells as she addressed the assembly. We have lost contact with 4 colonies in the outer systems. The plague has consumed everything. Our healers cannot stop the crystal corruption without Dr. Park's treatment. Can we not contact this human directly? Asked another council member. Surely he would help us for the right price. We have tried. All human communication networks have gone completely dark. We cannot reach any human settlement or ship. They have vanished as completely as if they never existed. The council chamber filled with the sound of worried harmonics as dozens of crystalline beings expressed their fear through musical vibrations. Back on Station Nexus Prime, Chancellor Crixtan was receiving reports from across the galaxy. Each one brought worse news than the last. Sir, the Corvin systems are reporting failures in their terraforming projects, his aide reported. Apparently, human environmental engineers were critical to the atmospheric processors. Without their expertise, 3 major colonies are experiencing toxic atmosphere buildup. Crixtan rubbed his temples with 2 of his 4 hands. What about our own systems? Are we having any problems? Actually, sir, yes. Our deep space mining operations are experiencing equipment failures. It seems that human maintenance teams were responsible for keeping our extraction equipment running in high-radiation environments. Without them, we are losing mining platforms faster than we can replace them. The Chancellor stood and walked to the large window overlooking the station's central hub. Below, he could see cargo ships moving between docking bays, but there seemed to be fewer ships than usual. "Sir," his aide continued, "we are also receiving reports of increased piracy activity in the outer systems. Major Eugen Song's security coordination network was apparently providing anti-piracy intelligence to multiple species. Without that coordination, pirate attacks have increased by 300% in the past month." 300%? Crixtan turned from the window. "Why were we not informed that a human was coordinating security operations?" "Because it was working, sir. The piracy levels had dropped so low that no one paid attention to how it was being managed. Now that it is gone, the problem has become obvious." As if to emphasize the point, an emergency alert began flashing on the office displays. The aide quickly checked the incoming message. "Sir, a Velthari cargo convoy has just been attacked near the Proxima trade route. 12 ships destroyed, cargo worth 50 million credits stolen. The pirates seem to know exactly where to find the convoy and what it was carrying." Crixton felt a cold sensation spreading through his chest. "How could they know our shipping schedules?" "Major Song's network was not just providing intelligence about pirates, sir. It was also protecting our shipping information from being discovered by hostile forces. Without that protection, our cargo movements are completely visible to anyone with basic scanning equipment." The Chancellor sank into his chair. For the first time since the humans had left, he was beginning to understand the true scope of what they had lost. But his pride would not let him admit the mistake. "Send messages to the other council members," he ordered. "Schedule an emergency session. We need to discuss the current situation." "What should I tell them the meeting is about, sir?" Crixtan stared at the displays showing failing systems across the galaxy. "Tell them we need to review our current resource management strategies." He would not say what everyone was beginning to realize. The galaxy was falling apart without the humans they had dismissed as junior partners. And somewhere out there, beyond all sensor ranges, humanity was watching it happen. The first cracks in galactic civilization had begun to show, and they were spreading faster than anyone had imagined possible. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Emergency lights cast harsh shadows across walls where elegant displays once showed thriving trade routes and peaceful colonies. Half the alien representatives. Seats were empty, their occupants dealing with crises in their home systems. Chancellor Crixton looked older than his years. His once bright blue skin had faded to a dull gray, and his movements lacked their former confidence. He stood before the remaining council members with reports that grew worse each day. "The situation continues to deteriorate," he announced, his voice echoing in the mostly empty chamber. 3 major colonization projects have completely failed. The Kepler colony ship carrying 2 million Velthari settlers lost life support during terraforming operations. Without human terraforming expertise, the atmospheric processors created toxic clouds instead of breathable air. Trade Minister Velmoth's compound eyes reflected the dim lighting as he added his own grim news. The Beta Centauri project has been abandoned entirely. Dr. Suhyuk Kang's fusion containment systems were the only technology capable of powering the massive terraforming equipment. Our engineers have tried to reverse engineer his work, but every attempt results in containment failure. We have lost 6 research stations trying to replicate his designs. In the Andromedan section, only 3 representatives remained. Their harmonics had changed from the musical tones of healthy crystal beings to harsh, discordant sounds that hurt to hear. Speaker Janara's voice cracked like breaking glass as she spoke. "The plague has consumed 14 of our colonies. We found some of Dr. Minho Park's research notes. but they are written in a combination of human medical terminology and Andromedan crystal growth equations that our healers cannot understand. It is as if he was thinking in two completely different scientific languages at the same time. Chancellor Crixtan nodded grimly. The humans seem to have had this ability to bridge different types of knowledge that we took for granted. Chief, Engineer Kyung-Ho Min's habitat designs are failing across the galaxy. The modular construction systems that millions of beings depend on for survival were more complex than anyone realized. On the main display, a star map showed the extent of the crisis. Red markers indicated failed colonies, orange showed systems with critical infrastructure problems, and yellow marked areas with severe security issues. There was far more red and orange than green. The piracy situation has become catastrophic, reported Security Coordinator Thexul, a reptilian being whose scales had dulled with stress. Without Major Eugen Song's coordination network, Pirate, attacks have increased by 800%. They seem to know exactly when and where our most valuable shipments move. Trade between systems has dropped by 60% because merchants are too afraid to travel. Trade Minister Velmoth made a bitter clicking sound. The economic damage is beyond calculation. The Zephyrian Corporate Alliance has lost over 2 trillion credits in the past 6 months alone. Our quantum communication networks are collapsing because we cannot maintain the algorithms that engineer Taehyun Lim developed. Without reliable communications, coordinating trade across multiple star systems is nearly impossible. There is worse news, Chancellor Crixton continued. Our intelligence services report strange activities at the edge of explored space. Long-range sensors have detected massive construction projects in the void between galaxies. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Commander Vexon of the Corvin Defense Force had arrived with an escort of armed soldiers. His insectoid features showed the stress of continuous combat. Chancellor, I must report that we have lost contact with our outer patrol fleets. Ships investigating the construction sites simply vanish from our sensors. The last transmission we received was from Captain Darrell's squadron. He reported seeing ships of unknown configuration before his signal cut out. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Somewhere beyond their borders, someone was building something large enough to be detected across impossible distances. And their scouts who went to investigate were not coming back. Have we identified who is responsible for these construction projects? Chancellor Crixton asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. Commander Vexon's mandibles clicked nervously. The energy patterns are consistent with advanced human fusion technology, but far beyond anything they possessed when they were part of our community. If these are human constructions, their technological capabilities have advanced dramatically in just 1 year. Trade Minister Velmoth stood abruptly. That is impossible. Human technology was primitive compared to ours. They were useful for basic labor and simple problem solving, but they could never develop anything we could not understand or counter. Minister, Commander Vexon replied carefully, our assessment may have been incorrect. The construction sites appear to be using controlled gravity manipulation and matter conversion on a scale that exceeds our most advanced theoretical models. Speaker Janara's harmonic voice carried a note of fear. We have been trying to contact any human settlement or ship for 12 months. Our most powerful communication arrays have found nothing. It is as if every human in the galaxy simply ceased to exist. Except they have not ceased to exist, Chancellor Crixton said quietly. They have simply chosen to exist somewhere we cannot see them. The main display changed to show recent deep space scans. Blurry images revealed massive geometric structures floating in the darkness between star systems. The scale was difficult to comprehend. Some of the constructions appeared to be larger than space stations, while others stretched for thousands of kilometers. Our xenoarchaeologists have analyzed the construction patterns, Commander Vexon continued. The architectural style is completely unknown, but the mathematical principles underlying the designs show influences from multiple species technologies. It appears that someone has been studying and combining the best elements of dozens of different civilizations. The Pai, humans always did have that strange ability to learn quickly from other species, Trade Minister Velmoth admitted reluctantly. They seem to understand our technologies better than we understood theirs. Chancellor Crixtan walked to the large window overlooking the station's central hub. Below, he could see repair crews working frantically to maintain systems that were failing faster than they could be fixed. Emergency lighting flickered in sections where power conservation measures were in effect. "We have sent 17 diplomatic missions toward the construction sites," he said without turning around. "None have returned. We have broadcast offers of negotiation, reparations, and even formal apologies on all known human communication frequencies. There has been no response." "What are your orders, Chancellor?" Commander Vexan asked. Crixtan continued staring out the window. "Continue monitoring the construction sites, but do not approach them. Begin emergency resource conservation across all Velthari systems, and prepare contingency plans for the possibility that our former junior partners have become something we do not understand." As the council members filed out of the chamber, Speaker Janara's voice resonated with a harmony that sounded like a funeral song. "We taught them that they were not welcome at our table. Perhaps they decided to build their own." The lights in the chamber dimmed further as power conservation protocols engaged. In the growing darkness, the star map continued to show the spreading collapse of galactic civilization, while beyond the edge of known space, mysterious lights grew brighter each day. 2 years had passed since humanity vanished from galactic society, and the universe felt like it was ending. Chancellor Crixtan stood in what used to be the Grand Council chamber, now lit only by emergency power cells. Half the station's sections had been sealed off to conserve energy. The remaining alien representatives huddled around a single conference table, their proud species reduced to desperate survivors. "The Corvan Defense Force has collapsed," Commander Vexan reported, his insectoid features gaunt from malnutrition. "Without the habitat systems that Chief Engineer Kyung-Ho Min designed, we cannot maintain our military bases. 3 entire fleets are stranded in dead systems because their life support failed." Trade Minister Velmoth's compound eyes had lost their shine. "The Zephyrian Corporate Alliance has declared bankruptcy. Our quantum networks have completely shut down. We cannot coordinate trade, communication, or even basic services between our worlds. Many of our colonies are reverting to pre-spaceflight technology just to survive." Speaker Janara's harmonic voice had become a painful screech. The crystalline plague had spread so widely that healthy Andromedans were now rare. 67 of our worlds are gone. The plague consumed everything. We found more of Dr. Minho Park's research, but even our best scientists cannot understand his methods. He somehow combined human intuition with Andromedan crystal mathematics in ways that should be impossible. Chancellor Crixtan looked around the table at faces that had once been proud and confident. Now they showed only desperation and barely controlled panic. "Our attempts to reverse engineer human technologies have failed completely. Dr. Suhyuk Kang's fusion systems, Captain Suman Choi's containment designs, Engineer Taehyun Lim's network algorithms, we cannot replicate any of them." "It is worse than that," added a new voice. Professor Keltar, the galaxy's leading xenotechnologist, had arrived from the outer research stations. "We have discovered that human innovations were not just advanced copies of our technology. They were completely original approaches that we never considered. The humans were not learning from us. They were thinking in entirely different ways." The professor activated a small holographic display showing technical diagrams. "Look at these examples. We build fusion reactors by containing plasma with magnetic fields. Dr. Kang's reactors somehow convinced the plasma to contain itself through harmonic resonance patterns. We manage quantum communications by forcing particles into entangled states. Engineer Lim's systems created willing quantum partnerships that maintained themselves." Trade Minister Velmoth stared at the diagrams. What do you mean by willing? Partnerships and convince plasma? Technology does not have emotions. That is exactly our problem, Professor Keltar replied. We think of technology as tools we force to work for us. The humans seem to think of technology as partners they convince to help them. Their innovations worked because they approached science like diplomacy instead of conquest, Chancellor. Crixtan felt a chill run through his body. Are you saying that humans were better scientists than us? I am saying they were completely different scientists than us. When we gave them access to our research, they did not copy it. They understood it so deeply that they could improve it in ways we never imagined. We thought they were primitive because their approaches were unfamiliar to us. Commander Vexen leaned forward. What about the construction sites? Have we learned anything about what they are building out there? Professor Keltar's expression grew troubled. The energy signatures have increased dramatically. Our long-range sensors now detect construction projects in 47 different locations around the galaxy's edge. The scale is beyond anything we thought possible. Some of the structures appear to be the size of small planets. Planets? Speaker Jen Ara's harmonic voice cracked with disbelief. Artificial worlds, built from scratch in the void of space. We have also detected what appear to be massive industrial complexes, research stations, and something that might be shipyards. The technology they are using operates on principles we cannot identify. The holographic display changed to show deep space scans. Blurry images revealed structures that defied easy description, geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow, energy fields that pulsed with mathematical precision, and construction activities that happened far too quickly for conventional technology. How is this possible? Chancellor Crixton asked. How could they advance so quickly? We believe they were never as dependent on us as we thought, Professor Keltar explained. While we assumed they needed our guidance, they were actually learning everything we knew and combining it with their own research. When they withdrew from galactic society, they already possessed the accumulated knowledge of dozens of species, plus their own innovations that we never understood. Trade Minister Velmoth made a sound like grinding metal. We offered them everything: massive reparations, formal apologies, seats of power in the council. They ignored every message. Actually, they did not ignore us, Commander Vexen said, quietly. 3 days ago, one of our deep space monitors detected a brief quantum transmission. It was definitely human in origin, but using communication protocols far more advanced than anything in our databases. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the commander, waiting for him to continue. The message was very short. It said, "We see you. We remember. We are coming." Then the transmission ended. Chancellor Crixtan felt his blood turn to ice. Coming? What does that mean? We do not know, sir. But yesterday our sensors detected movement from 17 of the construction sites. Massive objects, larger than any ships we have ever seen, began moving toward the inner galaxy. At their current speed, they will reach the outer colonies in approximately 6 months. Professor Keltar consulted his datapad. The energy readings from these moving objects suggest propulsion systems that could accelerate a moon-sized mass to near-light speed. We have no technology that could even begin to approach such capabilities. Are they weapons? Speaker Janara asked, her harmonics filled with terror. We cannot tell. The objects emit no hostile energy signatures, but they are so far beyond our understanding that we cannot determine their purpose. Commander Vexon stood and walked to the chamber's viewport. Outside, the once busy docking bays were nearly empty. Emergency repair crews moved between failing systems like insects trying to hold back the tide. There is something else, he said without turning around. Yesterday, we intercepted a transmission from a human ship. It was broadcasting on old diplomatic frequencies, but the message was not directed at us. What did it say? Chancellor Crixton asked. Captain Min Jae-won was speaking to someone, probably other humans. He said, "Phase 3 is complete. The demonstration has been successful. They understand the consequences of their choices. Prepare for Phase 4. The alien leaders looked at each other with growing horror. They had assumed humanity's withdrawal was angry isolation. Now they realized it had been a carefully planned operation with multiple phases. Phase 4, Trade Minister Velmoth repeated quietly. What is Phase 4? As if in answer to his question, the chamber's communication system activated. A calm human voice filled the room, speaking in perfect galactic standard language. Attention, Galactic Council. This is Negotiator Yunbi Park, representing the Human Colonial Assembly. We will arrive at your location in 72 hours. Prepare for new terms of engagement. The transmission ended, leaving the alien leaders sitting in shocked silence as the lights around them flickered and failed. 3 years after humanity had vanished from galactic society, they returned with a display of power that changed everything forever. The alien leaders of the dying Galactic Council waited in their darkened chamber as massive shapes appeared on every sensor screen across the galaxy. Chancellor Crixton pressed his face against the viewport and saw something that made his 4 hearts stop beating for a moment. A ship the size of a small moon hung motionless outside Station Nexus Prime. Its hull gleamed with materials he had never seen before, and energy patterns danced across its surface like living light. By the ancient stars, he whispered. What have they become? The ship was not alone. Similar vessels appeared simultaneously at over 100 locations throughout galactic space. Each one positioned itself near a major population center, trade hub, or government facility. They made no hostile moves, but their presence was more intimidating than any weapon. Trade Minister Velmoth's compound eyes reflected the glow of the massive vessel. Our sensors cannot penetrate their hulls. The energy readings are off every scale we have. These ships could destroy entire star systems if they chose to, but the humans had not come to destroy. Within minutes of their arrival, smaller ships detached from the massive vessels and moved toward critical infrastructure points. These craft immediately began broadcasting on all communication frequencies. Attention, galactic citizens, came a calm human voice. This is Science Director Nayung Seo of the Human Colonial Assembly. We are here to provide emergency humanitarian assistance. Medical teams are standing by to help with the crystalline plague. Engineering crews are prepared to restore power to failing stations. Food and supplies are being distributed to colonies in crisis. Chancellor Crixton stumbled backward from the viewport. They came to help us? The answer came immediately as human shuttles began docking with stations throughout the galaxy. But these were not the same humans who had left 3 years ago. The beings who emerged from the craft moved with confident purpose, wearing advanced environmental suits that seemed to bend light around them. Their equipment was sleek and efficient, clearly far superior to anything the galaxy had seen before. On the main display, they watched as human medical teams arrived at Andromedan colonies. Dr. Jinwoo Han, who had somehow learned to treat the crystalline plague during humanity's absence, worked with incredible efficiency. His methods were completely different from Dr. Minho Park's original research, but they worked even better. The crystal corruption began reversing within hours instead of days. How did they solve the plague so quickly? Speaker Janara asked, her harmonic voice filled with wonder. Our best healers spent 3 years trying to understand Dr. Park's work. They did not just understand it, Professor Keltar replied, studying the medical readouts. They improved it. Dr. Han's treatment does not just stop the plague, it makes the patient immune to all future infections. Meanwhile, human engineering teams were restoring power to failing installations across the galaxy. Engineer Dong-Hyun Kim worked on quantum fusion reactors with casual expertise, making repairs that should have taken weeks in just a few hours. His techniques were so advanced that alien engineers could barely follow what he was doing. Look at this, Commander Vexon said, pointing at surveillance footage. Engineer Kim is not using any tools we recognize. He seems to be manipulating matter directly with some kind of energy field projected from his hands. The human ships continued their work with methodical efficiency. Captain Woo Jin Lee's merchant fleet began delivering desperately needed supplies to starving colonies. But instead of the small cargo vessels that Captain Sumin Choi had once operated, these new ships could carry the equivalent of entire planetary harvests in a single journey. On dozens of worlds, human terraforming teams began restoring failed atmospheric processors. Director Sung Jae-ko's methods were so advanced that he could transform the air of an entire planet in days rather than years. Dead colonies that had been abandoned as hopeless suddenly became livable again. The aliens watched in amazement and growing fear as humanity demonstrated technological capabilities that seemed almost magical. But the humans made no demands, took no payment, and offered no explanations. They simply fixed what was broken and saved who could be saved. Finally, a shuttle approached Station Nexus Prime and requested permission to dock. Chancellor Crixatan, Trade Minister Velmoth, and the few remaining council members gathered in the docking bay to meet whoever was coming. The shuttle doors opened, and Ambassador Seok Jin Bae stepped out. He looked almost the same as the humans they remembered, but there was something different about his presence. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone who commanded unimaginable power, yet his expression showed no anger or desire for revenge. "Honored council members," Seok Jin said, his voice carrying clearly through the docking bay. "I am Ambassador Bae, representing the Human Colonial Assembly. We have come to discuss new terms of engagement." Chancellor Crixton found his voice. "Ambassador Bae, we are grateful for your assistance. The humanitarian aid you have provided has saved millions of lives. But we must ask, how did humanity advance so quickly? How did you develop such incredible technology in just 3 years?" Seok Jin smiled, but it was not the desperate-to-please expression that human diplomats had once worn. "Chancellor, we did not advance in 3 years. We had been advancing for decades while working alongside you. The difference is that now we develop technology for ourselves, not as junior partners trying to earn approval." Trade Minister Velmoth stepped forward. "But your ships, your capabilities, they are beyond anything we thought possible. Surely you must share the knowledge that allowed such progress." "We will share knowledge," Seok Jin replied, "but as equals, not as your students." The galaxy has seen what happens when some species are considered more valuable than others. That era is over. He gestured toward the viewport where the massive human vessels waited in space. Humanity has established independent stations throughout the galaxy. We will provide services, trade, and assistance to all species, but we will do so from positions of sovereignty, not dependence. Chancellor Crixton felt the weight of the new reality settling over him. "What do you want from us, Ambassador?" "We want mutual respect," Seok Jin said simply. "We want fair trade agreements where all parties benefit equally. We want to work together to solve galactic problems, not as servants and masters, but as partners with different strengths." Speaker Jen Ara's harmonics carried a note of hope for the first time in years. "And if we agree to these terms, then humanity will help rebuild what was lost. We will share our medical advances to eliminate diseases like the crystalline plague. We will provide energy solutions to power your worlds. We will offer protection from pirates and hostile forces. We will work together to create a galaxy where all species can thrive." Trade Minister Velmoth asked the question that everyone was thinking. "And if we do not agree?" Seok Jin's expression remained calm, but his words carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Then we will continue helping those who need assistance, protecting those who are threatened, and building a better future for those who choose to join us. The galaxy is large enough for many different approaches to civilization. As the alien, Leaders looked out at the human vessels that had appeared from nowhere with technologies beyond imagination. They understood that the age of their dominance had ended. Humanity had learned to thrive without seeking their approval, and now offered partnership from a position of strength rather than need. The galaxy would never be the same, but for the first time in years, it might have a chance to be better.